Hey, I'm Adam D with the Local Connect and KW Realty, and we're back for another monthly market update. In this video, we're going to be talking about the real estate market in May 2024. I'm going to dig into the numbers, take a look at the national market as well as the local market right here at the South Jersey Shore. Over the past month or so, and particularly this spring, we have not seen the normal spring market, meaning things haven't been quite as busy as they typically are. What I mean by that is there has been fewer listings and fewer contracts and therefore fewer properties selling. But the properties that have been on the market and priced correctly have been getting multiple offers, very competitive, and still selling quickly. So for a buyer and a seller, it may still be a busy market. But for the industry overall and the headlines that you see in the media, the market is much slower this year compared to last year, and last year was even slower than the year before that. So that's what we're monitoring closely. I'm still seeing an extremely competitive market offshore in the immediate towns just outside of the Barrier Islands here at the South Jersey Shore. And on the islands, still very busy in some of the average to lower price points. Some of the luxury price points are a little bit slower and taking a little bit longer to sell. So let's jump into the numbers and take a look at exactly what we're seeing. All right, so digging in here, most of the headlines and market news has been very centered around interest rates lately. They have increased recently, not as much as they were in the peak of October 2023 back in the fall, but they did hit back up over 7%. Very recently here, they've dropped back down just a little bit, but we're definitely seeing some higher interest rates. Latest Fed decision in May, no change again. If you remember in the beginning of the year, a lot of the experts predicted that we'd start to see some interest rate declines and even federal rate declines by this time, and we haven't. And one of the reasons why is still trying to get inflation under control, and the economists and the Feds don't like the inflation numbers they're seeing, although they are lower than what we saw in 2022 and 2023, but still above that Fed target of about 2% or so in inflation. Now, right now, a lot of the experts predict that there's still going to be a federal rate reduction in September of this year. And the majority of people think that it's going to probably be a small 25 basis point reduction. Now, here's a look at rates right now. You can see that back in the end of April, they went almost up to 7.5% or so. Right now, we're back to the very low sevens, as it stands today. And these, as you know, with rates, they'll continue to be volatile and move up and down. Rate predictions, we look at this every month. It continues to change. If you noticed in the beginning of the year, a lot of these experts predicted that we might even get into the fives by the end of this year. Unlikely that's going to happen at this point. They're still predicting that there's going to be some rate decreases come later in the year, probably after September. But that being said, the best case scenario, I think, is that we fall into the mid or even low sixes. That's probably the best case scenario. Now, one of the things I've been paying attention to most is over the past 2+ years, we've seen a significant decline in home sales. So you'll see this gray bar here is 2022, significantly higher home sales across the United States compared to last year and this year. And if you see, March was even lower than the previous year, 2023. I'll get to that locally a little bit later, but it's even more true locally here. Here's another graph looking at pending home sales or homes that are under contract. This divot here is COVID-19, 2020, but look at this. Significantly lower number of contracts right now. And this has been ongoing for a couple years at this point, and people are just, starting to pay attention to it. Locally, right here in New Jersey, here's showings, number of buyers walking through the door. And now this is really important to pay attention to. You'll notice that we have less properties going under contract, less listings, and yet the number of showings is still really strong in comparative to the years where we had more showings, more contracts and more listings. So that means that listings are actually still performing pretty well. It means there's still a lot of buyers out there looking and walking through the door. Just to be clear, this orange line here is 2024, and it's right there in line with some of these other peak years and particularly the last couple years. So let's move in looking at our local market. Atlantic County months of inventory, we're hovering just around 3. Where I start to think that we're transitioning into more of a neutral market is when that number gets a little bit closer to 4. Once it gets 4 to 5, safe to assume that we're heading into a neutral market, and 5 to 6 is definitely a neutral market, heading more towards a buyer's market at that point. Cape May County seeing a little bit more inventory. It's ticked up a little bit. We're getting a little bit closer to 4 months here. So again, once it exceeds that 4 months point, we start to think about this shifting more into a neutral market. And here we are just in our very local market here, our South Jersey Shore Barrier Islands, the media offshore points. And this is the number of new listings, April 2022. And now look at 2023. And same thing, our market, this most recent April 2024. And, the big thing is you can see that we had a pretty significant drop off, about 650 in 2022, and in 2024 we're 475, give or take, right? So pretty big drop of new listings over the past few years for this heavy spring market month of April, which is usually really, really busy. And taking a look at the same thing under contracts, right? So we have about 1,100 in April 2022. Going to 2023, a big drop, just over 800. And this year, 2024, another significant drop. We're about 650 or so. Everybody knows April tends to be a really busy real estate month, particularly here locally, both in new listings and listings going under contract. And both of those numbers are significantly down the past 2 years in our market. So there you have it. That's exactly what we're seeing in the real estate market, not only nationally, but right here at the South Jersey Shore. A lot of talk about interest rates. We'll continue to monitor that every month, and maybe those predictions will be true, that they go down a little bit as we head into the later part of the year here. In the meantime, the real estate market's been very stable. Inventory has increased just a little bit. That's more to the lack of transactions than it is to new listings. A lot of people have not wanted to put their homes on the market with these higher interest rates. But I would not let that slowdown news fool you. Buyers are still seeing a very competitive market. They're still coming up against a lot of multiple offer situations. And sellers are still seeing a lot of success right now. If they have a nice condition property priced well, they'll find a lot of buyers ready and waiting for them in the market. As always, if you have any questions at all, I'm here as your local resource. I serve the South Jersey Shore area and have referral partners all across the country and even international destinations. Be happy to help you no matter where you're looking to buy, sell, or invest.